What is up, guys? Welcome to week 19 of the podcast. We have a very special guest for you guys, and very excited for this episode of the Bad Beat Bryce and Ryan the Rock podcast. How you doing, Ryan?
Dude, it's great to be here. Can you believe week 19? We have a jingle. It's real. We have a jingle. We got a little thing. Shout outs to Noah for setting up the little poster board that we got there. Shout outs to my brother Kevin for working on that jingle for us. It's cool to have that stuff. Can you
Our
believe
quality is vastly improved from our Instagram days.
19 weeks ago, we were holding up a piece of paper with a table drawn on it and the hands done backwards.
Yeah, and I was doing interviews like a year ago, and they were just such low quality on Instagram Live, like so much better. But this is definitely one of our most prestigious guests to date, so very excited. Do you want the honors of introducing?
Yes, sir. So continuing our streak on amazing guests, All In has brought yet another crusher on the show today. His poker resume speaks for itself with over $500,000 in live earnings in tournaments alone, including a third-place finish at the 2011 Borgata Winter Open for over $200,000, and multiple main event cashes. Trevor Savage is a certified crusher. Be sure to check out his Raise the Nuts podcast with Trevor and his wife Jody make together, discussing the craziness of raising 3 kids and their unique poker lifestyle. Without further ado, please welcome Trevor Savage to the podcast.
Welcome, Trevor. Pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah, very, very happy to have you on here. Talk about poker, talk about life in general, and I think the viewers will very much appreciate any insight and advice you have for them.
Sounds good. I'm ready.
Awesome. So yeah, generally just the first question we ask is just your poker journey. How'd you get started? When did you pick up the game? Just tell us a little bit about your poker background.
Sure, man. So I'm like the traditional moneymaker story type guy, although I started playing just before moneymaker. A friend of mine in college introduced us to the game. He had been watching, I guess, poker on TV before that. And we learned the game, I think, 6 months before moneymaker happened. So it was kind of perfect timing. I kind of just started playing right away and was obsessed with it, and then moneymaker happened. So I was in college still at the time, and I was playing online a little bit, but then I would start even before I was 21. I started going down to Atlantic City. I went to college at Rutgers in New Brunswick, New Jersey, and so we were about an hour and a half from AC. So I would go down there every weekend and play nonstop, and I did that for about a year and a half, 2 years or so, and I graduated in May of 2005. And moved down to Margate, right outside of Atlantic City, to play poker for a living at that point because I was doing pretty well. And then, then kind of the rest has been history for there.
What stakes did you start on online, and what did you major in college?
Playing online, like starting, I just played 1-2 or whatever. Just when it was, I didn't play as much online then. It was more live. Like I would play online during the week when I was at work or when I was at my dorm room and stuff like that. But it was just mostly just kind of messing around. When I would go down to the Tropicana in Atlantic City, I'd play 1-2, and I would just play straight through the weekend. I'd play like 70 hours straight. So I majored in political science, but only so that because Rutgers is a big school, and I picked it just because it had the most people in the classes, so they didn't take attendance.
Oh, that's good for a poker player. Just want to sit in his dorm. That's amazing.
I never went to class ever.
That's hilarious.
My job that I had at the university, I worked for the university, and I made my own hours. So I was in charge of hiring everybody for the job that I had. So I would schedule all the interviews for Monday to Thursday or Monday to Wednesday, and then I would just go to AC from Thursday to Sunday, and I'd play straight through, and then come back home again. And yeah, I a lot of times I wake up and think that I actually even graduate college because like I was never there. I mean, I was there to party with everybody and stuff like that during the week, but I never actually went to class.
That's so interesting. Was that kind of your mindset right going into college, or did poker have an influence on your like not wanting to go to class and all that stuff?
The first semester I went to class, and then after that I was like, oh, this is stupid. I can everything's multiple choice, and I can just get my way. Like
that's hilarious.
And so, I was like, I don't really want to do that. And then once I started playing poker, then it was okay. I have something I'm really obsessed with, and that, like I said, that was in I guess the end of 2002 that I really started playing poker, and I started college in 2001, so it was pretty quick after that.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I guess that sort of raises the question for me. What do you think you would be doing if you weren't a full-time poker player?
Probably, I think I was destined to kind of do something unique or on my own. My dad was in a rock band growing up, and my mom is a tarot card reader, so it was kind of like I was set up for kind of being in that lifestyle where you kind of make your own rules. I think I'd probably be some sort of entrepreneur or run some kind of business or something like that. But yeah, something where I could think and where it was constantly changing and there would be different challenges each day and stuff like that.
That's cool.
Makes sense.
One of the other things, I was watching one of the videos back, like the most recent live poker video that you have on Raising the Nuts on YouTube, and you're wearing a sleeveless shirt and you can actually see your full tattoo sleeve. Yeah. Could you tell us a little bit about your tattoos? Because I saw just some of your ink and it was gorgeous. I was really amazed. Yeah.
So my whole arm here it's actually not even done yet, but it's all the way up here too.
That's so cool.
So it's still this much to get done here, and I was planning on going to get it done because I got it done in New York City with a good friend of mine from college. Is an incredible artist, and so I was going up to him.
Oh, that's even better.
Yeah, it's great. And he drew the whole thing. I gave him the ideas that I wanted, and then I said, "You draw it up. I trust your art eye and everything." So he drew up the whole thing. I wanted to do like a Dia de los Muertos theme.
Mm-hmm. I love that top.
Thank you. Funny enough, like it's based. My whole tattoo is based on two movies that are kids movies because I have kids, obviously, so I have kids movies. But it's The Book of Life and Coco.
Yeah.
Both very similar movies, and it's a lot because of a lot of it has meaning to me due to mental health struggles that I've had with anxiety and depression and things like that. And most of my anxiety was centered around dying and stuff like that. So those movies, especially The Book of Life, kind of spoke to me a lot, and so I wanted to get something that was similar to that. So up at the top here, there's my wife and myself. That's supposed to be us, and then this is the bridge from Coco that they go over.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that's so.
And then each of these super skulls represents one of my kids. So there's 3 different ones. I let them pick out the colors of them.
That's awesome.
There's 2 more skeletons down here. Those 2 are 2 of my friends that have passed away that were also friends with each other. So I got them on there as well.
That's amazing.
Finishing up, but that's that.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. That's such a cool piece of art. I love tattoos when they have such personal meaning and they're a gorgeous piece of art at the same time. Because sometimes it's hard to connect those 2 things, but that's a really gorgeous piece.
Yeah. Oh, I'd be remiss if I said this. This right here, that's my wedding anniversary. My wife and I had the same tattoo. That was there already.
Oh, that's amazing.
We got together in Vegas actually when we got to Vegas early one time and couldn't check into our hotel, so we went around drinking those big drinks that you see all the time on the strip.
Yeah.
We got tattoos, so we got matching tattoos.
Awesome.
Our wedding anniversary is October 10th, so 10/10. It's got the infinity symbol. So
that's
how did you guys meet?
So we met when the first time we met was we were 18, and it was through mutual friends. And I actually encouraged her to date my friend. Dated my friend for 8 months.
Wow, classic, really.
This is like a really long story. I'm going to give you the very short version. I actually, on our podcast, I think episode 3, I went through the whole love story. It's like 30 minutes long. It's really way too long. But basically, we met friends. I told her to date my friend. She dated him for 8 months. I was very nice to her, though, the whole time. They broke up. We didn't see each other for a couple of years, and then we reconnected through the same mutual friend again. And then after that, it was kind of we didn't get together right away, but it's a long story, so I don't want to go.
It worked out. It worked out.
Exactly.
So getting back to the poker a little bit, you mentioned how Chris Moneymaker and that sort of effect obviously kind of got you into the game, but you've cashed in 3 World Series of main events, 2009, 2015, and 2019. Could you describe some of the differences between 2009 and 2019, just the World Series?
Yeah, sure. 2009 was my first main event ever, too. Obviously, to cash in the first main event was pretty amazing. And I've just remembered that I kind of stun ran after day one. Day one, I just did like okay, and then day 2, I had like a great day. I think I finished the day in like 30th in chips or something like that. And it was just like I just kept making mistakes against people. it's like I didn't do anything great. I just kept making sets against people who didn't fold. I had one very memorable hand, and this actually tells you how different things were then. This is in the main event, and I had a hand where the guy had just punted off like a huge stack to another guy and had 30-something big blinds left. And on the turn, I shoved. He called and then walked away from the table before he even turned his hand over. And like just like called knowing that he was like dead basically. He had eights on king, queen, 6-4 or something like that. And I had king jack and I jammed. He called like knowing he's going to call whatever because he's tilted from the previous hand. And he's an Italian guy. He was walking away from the table before they even dealt out the river card. It was a pretty memorable moment. So it just
my man did not care about that 10K.
Yeah, like that wouldn't really happen. I mean, you might have people throwing shoes and things like that now, but people aren't punting like that, like it was in 2009. So
that's
like,
so sick.
Yeah. 30 bigs is 30 bigs. Yeah. What?
It's a playable stack.
Dude, that's a stack. Like,
oh my god.
Another difference too is that we didn't make the money in 2009 until like late in day 4. So it was a really long time, and also the min cash was double the buy-in. So
it was 20K instead of like 15K or whatever. Yeah, wow.
Yeah. So how I busted actually is pretty interesting because so I had 15 big blinds, and this is kind of at the beginning of Twitter times, right? So this is 2009.
Yeah, I guess.
Tweeting out hands that I'm reshoving, and like I'm like really like sharing updates with people, but I'm like saying everything that I'm doing. And I guess somebody at my table had. His name is Brendan Taylor, and he had Professor Ben, if you know that Ben Yu, was helping him like scout the table out. And so he was telling him the hands that I was shoving. So the money had just busted. I had 15 big blinds, and Brendan opened, and I shoved with ace king. And Brendan called ace 6 offsuit, and then turned to 6 to bust me. But the only reason he called was because he was reading my tweets. And I found this out later on 2+2. Like I saw a 2+2 thread where they said because he was following my tweets.
That's so sick. That's so funny.
And he called as like a 5-1 dog. That's crazy.
So, I mean, but then the difference in
what hands were you shoving? Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah. Were you like
how wide of a range?
Four deuce,
Jack 10 suited. Like I think I shoved Jack 10 suited and King Queen suited. So it wasn't like I was.
Yeah, he's like this guy.
This is 2009 though. It's a lot different. It's
exactly
a lot different environment or whatever.
Oh man!
But I remember like. I was definitely intimidated then. I had Havad Khan at my table, and that was like the year after he did the bulldozer thing and stuff like that. And I had Reese and Ramage, who was a very good pro at the time as well. Both were at my table on day 4, and I just wanted to make the money. It was like it was a big thing. It was my first main event.
Yeah, first main, 100%. Yeah.
In 2015, the field obviously is a lot tougher. And on day 3, I had good chips pretty much the whole time as well. But then on day 3, I got moved to a table like halfway through the day with Griffin Benger on my direct left, and he was the overall chip leader in the tournament, and he was on my direct left.
And
the table was all very good as well. And so I did it. There wasn't really much I could do at that point. I actually, even going back to 2009, I was definitely intimidated on day 2 also, or day 3. I'm sorry. So I had a great day 2, great beginning of day 3 in 2009. And then I got moved to Ben Lamb's table on day 3 in 2009. And he had all the chips, and he was on my left. And I went down from like 400K to like 100K just like in the last like 3 hours, like not doing anything because I was intimidated. It was 2009,
Yeah.
Anyway, so 2015, I wasn't intimidated, but it was just I couldn't do anything. I was handcuffed by the fact that I had like a decent-sized stack that was going to make the money, but also had Griffin and another great stack to his left as well. And then I busted actually the last hand of the night to Griffin with ace queen against aces.
Wow.
That's brutal.
And then 2019 was by far the most comfortable I've ever been. Probably the most, the most that I thought I would make a deep run as I accumulated chips. And, I never was like in bad positions or anything like that. Which obviously there's a lot of variance involved in that too, just because it's a point. But it was kind of smooth sailing the whole time, and I busted on day 5 with kings against king queen suited for 50 big blinds, all in pre-flop. So that's one of the worst bed beats as far as like just the moment and everything, and it was kind of rough. Just because you have it's the main event, it's day 5 of the main event. There's 250 people left, and you have kind of expectations of how you just want to be in the tournament still. And I wasn't even like, I'm not upset about for the money purposes or anything like that, or even like for the beat perspective of it or anything. Just because I wanted to be in the tournament still. Like I had so much fun playing in it. So.
I think
tournaments are a different beast. Just the survival feeling. Sorry.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Ron.
Yeah. And I think, you don't have to answer this question, but did you have 100% of yourself in your main event bullets? And if you didn't, did the fact that you were also had other investors impact your decisions at all during the main?
No, I've had a backing deal for tournaments since I can't even remember. It's actually kind of crazy how it all happened with backing deal, because I had early on in my career when I played tournaments more often, I had a bunch of final tables where I was on my own and finished sixth in these tournaments where it was like $60K to first and I would get, $12K or stuff like that, where at the time, if I would have won $60K, it would have been a really big deal. So at some point, actually right before the main event in 2009, friends of mine said that they wanted to back me, and I said, okay, sure, that's fine. Like, let's do this. And
that's awesome.
I'm sorry, for 2009, I just sold pieces. 2011 was when I'm screwing up my time frame here. I'm sorry. 2010, I had a score right before we got married where it was a $500 buy-in tournament, and it was the first tournament I was staked for. And it was a $500 buy-in tournament, and I chopped it 3 ways for $65K or something like that. And it was obviously
not bad.
It was the first time. Like I had been in the same exact spot so many times on my own money, and now like obviously I got to chop it.
Yeah,
which is great, obviously. But from that point on, I just stayed staked and everything. And but yeah, like I've never. It's been with the same guys for 10 years or whatever. So I never worry about them as far as like anything, because they trust me. I don't feel like I'm gonna let them down or anything like that. And like it's whatever. It's just.
I'm sure you've made them a lot of money if you lose here and there.
Yeah, and like they're very successful poker players themselves. They stake a bunch of other people as well too. So it's like it's not.
I know what's up.
If I had a bunch of investors and like I had sold like action to people who like watch my channel or things like that, I mean, I might feel bad for them in a sense, but I think I would just feel bad that the run was over. Like that's part of the reason I felt so bad, because this time in 2019, I had a lot of people that were rooting for me because of the YouTube channel and stuff like that. So, I was like, and I was getting like hundreds of Instagram messages every day from people like following along, and like I want to keep updating each day. Like I'm still in this thing. Let's go,
That's awesome.
Yeah, to have those people following you through the process makes it all the more better. Yeah. I totally agree.
I will like it's much different for me too, because I tournaments are always just a bonus for me, and so it's like I don't even view tournaments as part of my poker playing life. Like tournaments are like a bonus, like side job, as a different form of poker completely. So I have my day job, which is playing cash games, and then if I have any tournament success at all, then that's great. But and even if I won the main event, it would have just been like, okay, that's cool. I won the main event. Like,
that's cool
for people that were excited for me and stuff like that. But nothing else about my life would have really changed at all.
And speaking of that sort of cash game side of it, as someone who's played for such a long time, you had an interview with Card Player this past year where you said, and I quote, when I started playing at the Parks Casino, I made a decision that I played so many hands at that point that I would always just trust my gut instinct and go with it. So, I haven't played nearly as many hands as you have. I'm someone who I followed a similar track as you, where Bryce sort of introduced me to the game in college, and we've only been out of college for about a year, and the quarantine hit at a perfect timing for me to really get into study as well. So, what are things that you've done other than just brute repetition to get yourself to a point where you're comfortable with just taking your gut instinct and going with it?
Yeah, I mean, definitely the main thing is just the repetition for sure. Just getting in hand after hand after hand and playing so many hands. I probably played people ask me this all the time, but I think I've played between like 12 and 13 million hands in my life, somewhere around there, because I've played online for so long.
Good Lord.
And I got a million hands for the until last year. Last year I played 500,000 hands because I switched to playing mostly PLO. But before that, I was averaging 1 million hands every year for 5 or 6 years alone. So it's since New Jersey. So repetition for sure, number one. For me, it just depends on how you learn. I've always learned the most by playing and watching other people play and thinking about why they're doing what they're doing. So I'll pick out a couple of people in my player pool who I think are very smart and think that they are constantly studying things and constantly changing their game, and I'll just go over hands that they're playing in my head over and over again all day long and figure out why they're doing what they're doing.
Right.
That's the main way to get better, I think, and to just to give yourself that confidence. But besides that, like the way things are now, like with No Limit Hold'em, honestly, if you're not using like a solver, one of those things, like you're going to be behind the curve in online play. In live play, it's just the hours. Like you can't replicate intuition in live play and understanding feel and understanding game flow and things like that. That's something that comes with time and with playing. And I'm lucky that I have played both live and online for extended periods of time. So I've been able to kind of develop both of those different intuitions. Like, I played so much online poker that I have a very good feel for what people are doing, intuition on what they're going to do, even though I can't look at them in the face or anything like that.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Makes sense. So we've been talking about your Raising the Nuts YouTube page. You probably have one of the most famous families. Your kids are just so famous. My favorite video is probably the Andrew looking for a poker girlfriend with Marley, just an amazing video. So you haven't made a YouTube video in a while. I'm assuming that's because of quarantine. And we discussed a little bit how you're more focusing on the entertainment side of things opposed to like the hand breakdown side of things. What goes into that? And do you have any exciting ideas for the next videos or anything like that?
Yeah, so there's going to be videos from two different entertainment angles going forward. I'm going to continue making some of the kids' videos for sure, and I have one that I'm currently writing up right now that I have to get around to. It's been tough during quarantine at all. Obviously, one, because I can't play live poker for those types of videos, but the second part is that I've been playing so many hands online because things are so good that I'm just going to be playing so many hours. So it doesn't leave a lot of hours for me to basically with the kids' videos. It's a pretty lengthy process. Like each one of these videos with the kids takes a lot of hours. I have to write up a script. I come up with that with my friend Jay. We'll come up with the different script ideas all together, and then we have to come up with costumes for the different things that they're going to do, and then we have to film obviously each scene and everything, and then the editing process is quite a while. But we have something in the works for it's going to be something to do with Doug Polk playing Dan and Negreanu.
I cannot wait to watch that.
Different ideas there for that. And then as far as the poker stuff goes, once the world kind of opens back up, I'm going to be formatting everything just like my last video was prior to quarantine. The last video I had that came out right before quarantine, I did the Play Every Hand Challenge, which I've done for a while, but I actually showed every single hand that I played. So I went to the Golden Nugget in AC, and I played 92 hands or something like that over the course of an hour and a half or 2 hours or whatever it was. And I filmed every single one and then talked over it. So my idea, and the video, like people seem to really like to see every hand and everything like that. So, and I play every single hand. So obviously, there's a lot of things that come up. But my idea is to spread each of those videos over the course of 5 days, make the videos 10 minutes long, and get more into the characters at the table, and like kind of go more into that side of things from an entertainment perspective. I'm not gonna. I'll obviously show you everything that I do in the hand, but I'm not going to talk about like why I'm doing this and things like that, because I think it kind of bogs things down a little bit too much. And I want to focus more on the fact that it's fun to play every single hand.
Oh, for sure. That definitely probably appeals to the less serious poker players. Like when you watch some of these hand breakdowns from like you name it, Nimi, Owens, Vibes, like they go very in depth. And while the serious poker player loves it, like if you don't know like what a 3-bet is or just these simple poker terms, you're just like, what the hell are they talking about? Like you could be so lost that you may be rooting for them, but just not understanding the language could be frustrating. So I think the entertainment value that you provide to the community is amazing, and keep it up. I can't wait to watch your next video.
I mean, the other thing is like I don't really enjoy talking about No Limit Hold'em strategy anymore that much. So, and it's like something because I've just done it for so long. I've played so many hands and whatever. It's just gone on for so long, and just I'm never going to worry about what people want to see on my channel because I'm not doing it to make money or anything like that. I'm doing it because I enjoy doing it. It's entertainment value for me as well. So I'm always just going to kind of pick the things that I enjoy doing, and I enjoy. If I'm going to have to go to the casino to play, obviously I'm going to make a video because I'm not going to the casino to make money. I'm going to play a 1-2 game somewhere in the middle of nowhere or whatever, just to play every single hand.
Throw $5 in the middle and have a good time. Right?
Yeah, and so I want to to film that and make it enjoyable for myself, or else I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah, Yeah, you should also think about, because I saw on your Instagram the heads up hand you had with your daughter, where she snapped you off where I think you had like an open-ended straight flush draw and she had top pair and she held on the rest of the board and then she was like, "You're trash." But I think you, the wife, and the kids should play a little tournament on stream, because that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah. That's good. That's a good one. Yeah, we actually did one before, and I just never put it out. But
you did. Okay.
I think there was too much fighting. There's too much competitiveness. It ends up turning into a bad thing.
Yeah. Right. Do you think any of your kids are considering poker at all? Or I know one of them is doing cheer and such, but have any of them? I know they're young, but any
very young.
The oldest one doesn't like poker at all. Her birthday's tomorrow. Actually, she'll be turning 12. She doesn't like poker. Cam, who's 10 now, Cam likes it, but and like they like to play when we get it out, but it's just just for fun. Andrew is 6, and he's already really good at poker. Like he already knows what's going on, so I'm sure he's gonna be pretty good at it. But I mean, they'll probably play as a hobby at some point for sure.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
That's great.
So I know you've talked about kind of wellness, overall wellness, and health and fitness and all that good stuff. You've talked about how you lost a lot of weight, and I was just wondering how much your life and trajectories changed when you decided to pick up dieting, to pick up working out, and all that good stuff, and just kind of talk about how your life's changed.
Yeah, that's a good question. So I started losing weight actually almost exactly 10 years ago. I was 263 pounds, went to the doctor. So I was 27 years old, 263 pounds. We just had our second kid. And so I went to the doctor and they said that your blood work is really bad. You need to lose some weight. So I talked to a friend, and he's a personal trainer. And so he helped me out with that stuff. So that kind of started things going, but it didn't actually really completely pick up until I had a really bad panic attack actually at the end of 2013. And it's kind of when I was really starting to feel the effects of anxiety. We were expecting Andrew at that time. So I had 2 kids. The third one was on his way. I was 30 years old, which traditionally, after now studying mental health for quite a while, that seems to be a very common age for people to start feeling the effects of anxiety and depression. Once that happened, that kind of set me on a new path to figuring my brain out in different ways that I ever really imagined. So that kind of set me on a path with meditation, really focusing on the way that I was eating. My wife is in nutrition, so she's obviously been a big help in that. And it helps when the person who buys the food and things like that knows what they're doing. That helps a lot. But it certainly helps. It helped my life in general, but it helped my poker game as well. Just to be more focused, obviously, and just to have better understanding for how the brain works. And I'm still constantly learning every day. It's something I'm very, very passionate about. And now I'm really spending a lot of my time trying to help other people with the things that I've learned over the last 7 years since I had the panic attack, and everything that I've learned, and I want to help share with other people.
Amazing, man. Go therapy.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah, very much appreciate you opening up. It's glad to hear you're doing a lot better. That's awesome. Very much appreciate it. I feel like a lot of serious poker players talk about just how important it is to just have a well-rounded mental game, whether it be through meditation or healthy eating. So many guys, Dan Underground, Fader Holes, all those guys. So yeah, good to hear that reiterated. Any more questions, Ryan, before we wrap up?
I'm good.
I'm very much appreciate you coming on, Trevor. I do have one last question. How do you get quads so often? It doesn't seem fair, and you seem to be getting it daily, at least.
Yeah. I get this question all the time because obviously people see the quad goals on Instagram. Like they're like, how do you have quads so often? So here's the secret behind it. Okay. First thing is that I play a lot of tables, obviously, so I play a lot of hands. Second thing is that I play a lot of shorthanded, a lot of heads up PLO, a lot of 3-handed PLO. And the third thing is that most of my opponents are very bad. So obviously, because I'm playing shorthanded, I'm getting to the river repeatedly. And I'm playing every hand also. I'm playing a very high percentage of the hands dealt. So I'm playing almost every pocket pair that I have. And so because I get to the river more often in these spots, then I just end up having quads more often. So
That makes sense. Yeah,
That
so
makes
technically,
sense.
it's gonna have pods more often.
Yeah,
It's
like-
not as exciting as a secret, but I mean,
Yeah.
it's
I
awesome.
was
It's
like,
awesome.
is he gonna tell us? Like,
Yeah,
he's got a
well, the
program
thing
on
is,
his
like-
computer, you know?
yeah, I have the cheat code. I have the pot ripper
Yeah.
cheat code. Like, for most people who are like playing one table or two tables of like on a Poker Bros site or something like that, they're not going to see quads that often. Like for me, I don't even put on Instagram all the ones that I get. Like I get like 6 or 7 or 8 a day or whatever, and like I get straight flushes and royal flushes all the time. Like it just happens because I'm playing.
So
when you
many
play
hands.
high quality- yeah, I'm like probably 20% of my hands are heads up, and probably another 20% are 3-handed. So it's just I'm going to be in every hand. It's just
Seeing lots of flops, not a lot of folding. I gotcha.
That's awesome.
That's crazy.
Thank you so much again, Trevor. Very much appreciate you coming on. Good luck on the grind. Hope you continue to put the hours in, and look forward to watching more of your videos.
Will do.
Go check out his podcast.
Thanks, guys.
Take care, man. Alrighty, so we have 4 hands, I believe, for you guys today.
Yeah.
Pull those up very quickly.
4 of them. This first one is craziness.
Yeah, do you want to give a little background? It's not your hand, but
No. So this one is a viewer submission, which is a 2-5 home game. Where before I pull up the hand, a little bit of context about where they are in the session. This is very, very deep into the evening. I believe at the beginning of this orbit. Oh, Bryce, there's a echo. You're still experiencing.
I got you. 1 second.
Yes. So while he's doing that,
Okay, we're good.
We're good. Okay. Yeah, so 2-5 games super late in the evening. So they've agreed that this is the last orbit, which kind of ties into. It is late at night. He said he was particularly tired, so that can definitely tie into decision making for sure. We've been here for a while. So 2,300 effective, and under the gun open to 20. Here with 9s, under the gun 1, they're going to raise it up to 70. Deep into the evening, I see this, that makes a lot of sense. You guys are here. You guys are comfortable. If under the gun is a particularly loose player, 9s is a fine 3-bet there. But a lot of the time in such an early position, especially under the gun 1, facing an under the gun raise with a medium pocket pair, this is generally a flat for me. But I think it is player dependent. You're also late in the session. And if under the gun 1's a loose player, fine with the 3-bet.
And obviously mentions us. I mean, we're incredibly.
We're also super deep. Yeah,
I think that's a huge factor. In the decision to 3-bet. Obviously,
for
very
sure.
player
You want to
dependent.
get money in if you flop a set.
If a nit is raising under the gun, I'm not raising him here. I'm happy to get it in with a few people, but I think it's fine to attempt to isolate or narrow down the field to
nothing
2-3
wrong with
players. So that's fine. So C3 decides to bump it up to 210. Let's see what happens.
Folds all the way back around.
Under the gun, interestingly, folds, and we decide to put in the call.
That's fine. 9s isn't really a 4-bet hand. You don't have any key blockers.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
So no purpose to 4-betting there. Perfectly fine.
Exactly.
Flat.
Pretty favorable flop for the 9s.
It's all right. Flop.
Flop tough set, and I'm assuming we check it over. Should be checking
super small.
Yeah, all right. And he bets 200, and we decide on a flat, which I think is totally fine, totally standard. If you raise, you get out a lot of his ace kings, ace queens, king queen suited, all suited broadways.
And that's going to be one of the keys to this hand is talking about what is his 3-betting range from there versus an under the gun open under the gun 1 3-bet. He's 4-betting. What is his 4-bet range constructed of here? A lot of overpairs, a lot of ace king, king queen, that kind of stuff. So, yeah,
so
absolutely.
Decent amount of money in the pot now. 847, about 2 times SPR ratio. Turn is an ace, not a good card for us. Obviously, villain could have aces, but it could be good in the sense that he has ace king, ace queen. So he bets 400, and we decide on a flat. So what do you think on a flat here? Obviously, villain could have aces here sometimes, but do you think we should be raising to try to target his ace king, ace queens, or because I mean, obviously, it's a dry board in the sense that there's no flush draw, and I mean,
this completes.
No one's gonna have deuce 5 or anything of that nature ever. Well, probably.
But
yeah. So do you elect to flat here, or are you gonna put in the raise?
Yeah, it's interesting because that's the thing is like you kind of have to think about your opponent in this position and what are they going to think if you raise here. And also you have to think about sizing. So maybe on the flop, a raise might have made sense if the board was a little bit more wet. So like, for instance, if it was like a 9-8-6 board with 2 spades, I could totally see a raise on that flop for value.
100%.
That makes a lot more sense. On this flop, a call is fine. This turn's obviously not great for our hand. But yeah, like we said, if the ace-king was barreling on this flop, ace-king still thinks it's good here, and they have no reason not to think that they're still good here. So don't give them any reason to not think that they're so good. Because ace-king is willing to put in stacks on blank rivers.
Let's assume that it's a blank river. Do we just rip it, assuming that ace-king or ace-queen might check back, or are we going to let them hang themselves if they decide to value bet the ace-queen, ace-king, ace-jack?
Oh, it's such an interesting question. Because that's the thing is like, you have to decide because this is a unique spot. This is a 4-bet pot. And
I think jam. I think you jam because I think ace queen. Let's say a 10 barrels off on the river. If we don't have too many ace 10s, but he might just check that down because we also have all the sets. And if he has just ace queen, ace king might bet there. But I think if you call here, you should be setting up a potential river jam unless you just are so sure this dude has aces. But I mean, how? You can't always put your opponent on the nuts, but let's see what he decides to do.
And that's also one of the concerns here, because watch, when we call here, look at the stack sizes. The turn sizing from the villain was such that a river sizing, like stacks are looking like, a pot size bet back is kind of where we're at here when this river rolls off.
So a queen obviously is not a great
Not good.
Yeah. So opponent could have ace queen here, in which if they have 2 pair, this is just obviously a massive cooler.
Yeah.
Ace king I think shuts down here 100% of the time. And villain could also have pocket queens here, but
they could. Be weird for them to
sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't think it's absurd of them to bet turn.
Yeah.
But I mean,
exactly.
I don't think he has pocket queens here too often.
It would take a certain kind of player to bet that turn with queens.
We decide to check it over, and villain decides to
put it on
jam. So obviously a massive, massive, massive bet. And I just don't think this is ace king here ever.
Yeah.
Ever.
So that's the thing is like if I'm in this spot with 9s. When we initially had this discussion, I was like, "Oh my god, like this should be a snap call on this board." But then when you look back at it, you're like, "It is a 4-bet pot pre." And I think the real decision, I think the real decision here comes down to: does seat 3 have a 4-bet bluffing range? If you know this villain and you have a history with this villain, have you ever seen them show down a hand in a 4-bet pot that's worse than queens? Like, have they shown down king queen? Have they shown down king jack? Have they shown down 9s? Like, how do they have the potential to 4-bet bluff here? So if they have no 4-bet bluffs, then, even the math isn't super in your favor here on a call. Because if the ranges are this tight and there's 6 possible nut combinations that you're losing to here, then I can see how this could become a fold because we're in a 4-bet pot and ranges are so tight.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note that he said this is a very competent reg that he said is sort of on the tight side. So when he jams here, I mean, let's look at the value hands. Pocket aces, pocket queens, ace queen. Do you think ace queen can profitably jam here?
Yeah, that becomes an interesting question too, because villain has to think about like, what the heck are you calling him down with?
Exactly. Like, what gets to the river? And I think that's the important thing to note, because this is, I mean, I haven't played with this specific person, but they're a very competent player, and they don't seem to spaz often. So if you're not playing against a giant fish, you're trying to cooler them. You assume they have a huge hand. What are you putting them on? What gets to the river on this board that you're putting them on? And I think the answer is a set. Like what else does he have? Unless you assume we have a hand like ace 9, ace 4, ace 3, which we could have. And if you think we call with that 2 pair, I mean, if I have ace 4, ace 3, I'm laying this down. I'm insta-folding this to a tight pro. Because ace queen smashes the range. He has all the sets of aces and queens, and I fold. I think normally against a player I have no history with, I toss in the call.
Yes.
But against a tight pro, which he says is incredibly competent, I honestly think this screams value, And I think because he bet so big, if he bet 1,000 into 1,600, obviously he's leaving himself back with not that much. But I call. But when he jams, I think it just screams value, and I don't think someone who he labeled as pretty tight, wasn't playing too many hands, very competent pro, I don't think he shoves here. So I actually think he ends up laying it down. I think it's the correct laydown. I really
would agree.
do.
Yeah.
He's getting when we spoke initially, you thought it seemed to be like, what the heck, this is a crazy fold. But I think it's the right fold. I think folding here most of the time, 75% of the time, is fine.
And that's the thing is like it's interesting. It's interesting because now when you go back and you have the benefit of hindsight, you make these sort of decisions. Yeah, what's up, Curtis? Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, honestly, great fold. I think for me, as someone who's a little bit newer than you and who hasn't seen as many hands, this would be a tougher spot for me with nines to lay this down. And I, again, would have to have had a significant history. But I totally agree with your point there about sizing. And I think C3 gets a little greedy here if they do, in fact, have aces or queens here with this sizing. I mean, because I guess they're never expecting you to lay down nines in a million years. But for this amount, you didn't make it easy. A grand, like I said, it's you just can't lay that down. But yeah, for the whole thing, no.
The vast majority of poker players would not lay this down. And I don't know if I mentioned, but he flips over pocket aces. He had top set, and this was an amazing fold. Props to you. Obviously, you're not right here all the time, but you went with your read. You described the player archetype well, and nice fold,
job.
Man.
Really,
nice fold.
That's tough.
For sure. All right, so we've got a few more hands for you. Do you want to give the setup to the next hand as I pull it up? Oh, is this my hand?
Yes, it is. So this is a little 51 last night. We went down a little bit in stakes, which was fun. Led to me opening so many hands. It was ridiculous for a while.
I was opening even more.
Yeah, you were opening even more. Yeah, I think like 40% is ridiculous, and Bryce is like, I'm opening 70%.
Okay, I was not opening 70%.
No, but you have been known to in the past do that. But here
not 70%.
You have in a 1-2 session before you brag.
Right, so I've got ace king in middle position and folds to me. And I make it $4. I actually had ace king in a different hand, so I put on my story that I misclicked this hand. I did not misclick this hand. I meant to make it 4. And another hand, I actually made it like 2x the big blind or whatever. Like so I min-clicked. I didn't mean to. I was at a bar. Right. Anyways, so I make it $4. Button calls.
Remember, we're 51. So this is 4 big blinds.
Yeah. So the flop comes ace 5-3, pretty good flop for us, and we decide to put a pretty standard c-bet of $5.33 in. What do you think of the sizing? I think you actually go a little smaller on this board, but against You're the Jerk, he also likes to play hands against me, and he'd been making comments like trying to needle me. He definitely had it out for me. So if he hits any 5, any 3, any club draw, so I think in that sense, if he hit this board whatsoever, I think he's relatively inelastic, and I think he would call pot with a 5 here, genuinely.
Yeah, I totally agree with that analysis. I totally agree. I think for me, bet small, bet often is something that works well for me, but I totally agree with that if this is someone who's been needling you and you're here with a value hand and you can bet big and they'll call and they're inelastic with their small pairs, absolutely get more value.
Yeah, and I'm definitely known as an action player. Obviously, I'm not known as a spaz, but I'm definitely an action player.
Right, sure. So we get a call. That's fine. You can have a lot of things that can continue here.
Turn brings an 8, a brick. I mean, you don't think it's a brick? I think it's
no, because that's what I was thinking about. Is I was thinking about what eights does he have? I mean, I guess he has that's the thing is
I mean, he could obviously he could have any ace. Ace 8 suited, I think plays against him on the button, especially this guy. Obviously he could have ace 3, ace 5, and I decide to size up here, pricing the flush draw, and in case he has something like 4-6, I mean. I don't know what he's calling with, and I'm going to fold out his 5s. So I'm targeting weaker aces, flush draws, and straight draws.
Yeah.
So I decided to size up to...
You're doing the same thing. You went 2/3, 2/3.
Yeah, I went 2/3.
That's fine.
Makes it $94.
So he just shoves. Wait, okay. So when you put in
he rips it.
Yeah, so you put in your 14. There's now 34 in there. He shoves 90. So it's 3x the pot. Not exactly. Go ahead. It's not great odds.
I put this on my story, and it actually was about 55-45. People calling me a nit. You being one of them. Obviously, it could have just been needling. But I truly think this is the right fold because against this player, there are some players in this club. 6-3, for example, would jam a hand like 10 jack of clubs. Snap jam 10 jack of clubs.
Yeah.
And I would snap call ace king here against certain players like that. But I have never once seen him shove a flush draw in general on a turn. Like if he had a straight flush draw or something like that, maybe I haven't seen it. But I hadn't seen this player spaz off. And this guy knows we sort of had a rivalry this night and just in general. And I think that he assumes I would call with a hand like ace king, ace queen. I think he was probably shocked, and he didn't show his hand.
Yeah,
I think he would have shown if he just had a flush draw, or it honestly wouldn't have needled me because when I made my decision, I was confident in it, and I truly think there's a 95% chance I was beat here. And you're asking, what does he have? I think he had ace 5 here. He could have ace here, ace 8 here sometimes, but I also don't think that ace 3 would play this hand like this because I obviously could have ace 3. I think he had ace 5, a set. I don't put him on pocket 8s. I mean, I think 8s floats me on the flop, but I think 3s and 5s make more sense.
I totally agree with your analysis. I think that this is 2 pair or better, and if you don't think that he could be jamming a flush draw here, it's too big. It's just too big. If he had, I don't know, if there had just been, if the stacks had been shallower to this point, and this was like maybe a 1.5x pot shove or something like that, then it's much harder for you to get away with ace king.
Yeah.
But even just considering the odds that you were getting, like you can now reasonably fold a hand like ace king because this is a 3x over bet shove. Yeah. Totally fine. I'm with it.
Yeah, obviously, some people were a little shook when I flip over the ace king. I just table it. Obviously,
it was a quick fold. It was like pretty much a snap fold. I think you literally.
It wasn't a snap fold. Actually, it was within like 4 seconds.
It was it was pretty quick. It was
pretty quick.
Like 1, 2 fold. You have a set or 2 pair.
I didn't have to think about it. Like he just doesn't do that. So we've got 2 more hands. We'll try to not keep it too long. Probably 5 minutes for each hand. So this next hand, Ryan is playing 51. Yep. Was this also last night? Yeah, it is.
Yeah, this is also last night. We're 40-something hands into the session here, and we are going to pick up pocket 10s. We are in the hijack. We're in the hijack. And the low jack is going to open in front of us to 2.5. We're going to go ahead and bump it up here to 9. I think this is fine. I think, especially considering we're here in middle position, that 10s can be a 3-bet. I think it can also operate as a flat. Like a flat's fine here with 10s.
I completely disagree. If you flat here, you're bad. If you flat here, you're bad. Flats definitely isn't a spaz and doesn't play too many hands. I don't know why I keep using that term. I never use that term. But anyways, Flats is a competent player, and you assume he has a mildly strong range. But when he only 2.5 X's, like
it was a little weird. I thought that
if he has a huge hand, there is no way he's going that small. And I think you need to isolate him because 10s...
He has to do it with the slider. It made no sense.
If you flat, you are getting a call from each and every one of them. I guarantee. You're going 5 ways with 10s. If you want to go 5 ways with 10s, you be my guest, but I am not going 5 ways with 10s. So I think it's incredibly important to thin out the field here. And I like your sizing. I like the bet. Don't question yourself. It's a good raise.
I think it's we get a call. Actually, he was supposed to be in the small blind, which makes that flat even more suspect. But Mastery flats out of what was supposed to be the small blind, which is a little weird, and I don't know what that's supposed to be, especially when it checks. But they check it over to me, and I go ahead and go with my bet small, bet often. We're here on a rainbow board. There's not a lot that should be connecting here that he's going to have that open calls a 3-bet. I guess, 8x some stuff, maybe some ace x of, ace 8, ace 5, stuff like that. But there's just a lot that's out there. And so this is something where, bet small, bet often with your overpairs. You could probably size up a little bit here, especially into two people. But I am in position, so I don't know. What do you think about going this small into 2750?
I think I have a read on your sizing tells that I will talk to you about this after this podcast. But I think it's fine. I do look to go a little bigger simply because who you're playing.
Fair.
I don't expect Flats to hit this board unless he has a set of 5s or a set of 8s. I mean,
Right. That's kind of what I was thinking too.
If he has like 7-8 suited, 8-9 suited, 5-6 suited, I mean, obviously that's loose to be raising, but I think that he calls a bet, and I think he can go bigger. And Mastery, I think, will call huge. So just because you're playing against Mastery specifically, who we both have a ton of history against, I would look to size up a little bigger. Maybe like $12, something like that. But I think 950 is fine. I personally don't bet that small typically, but I mean it's a driest board, like ever. So I think it's okay. And flats calls, which I think is interesting. I expect a call from Mastery more so than flats. Turn is a 3, not the best card in the world.
Yeah.
I think Ace 4 floats you, and I think 4-6.
Right, except for thing that's the one peril.
4-6 suited, back, yeah.
Correct.
You backdoor draws are like, hell yeah, third pot, let's do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you keep around like backdoor diamond draws, some like Ace 4. Exactly, like Ace 4 of diamonds. 100% is calling that flop bet. And they should be, like, because I've given them the odds to. So yeah, I could see that hand getting there, which I actually honestly didn't think about at the time, so it's good that we note that.
So what happens? What happened on the turn? Sorry, I literally
He checked to me. I bet 22, which I think was just a little over.
Wow. Okay. It decided to go through. Okay. It decided to completely go through. Wow. I did not expect these hands. What the heck? Okay. Sorry to spoil that, but okay. 22. I think it's fine of him to flat. I like your bet. I'm starting to wonder what the heck he has. I'm putting him on 8 at this point. You go for funny value on the river, which.
So funny. So when he flats the turn, here's the deal, right? If he's showing up here with the set, I should be getting raised probably on the turn here. Maybe not flop, but as probably the turn for sure, because he wants to be feasibly looking to get stacks in. And I didn't size super huge on the turns. There was wiggle room if he was going to raise with a set. So that's the thing is when we arrive on this river, I literally put him on exactly pocket 9s. And so when I went to go make this bet, I was like, I think he has either ace 8 or pocket 9s. So this is something where he's going to call. I think I could have sized up, seeing that I identified a range like that, where they're probably going to call half pot too, because they're just like, what the heck is this guy going bet with here? But I think, honestly, if I go any more than half pot, I start folding out hands like 9s. Maybe.
Yeah.
To a certain, maybe not more than half. Maybe if I go 2/3 or more, I may start folding out hands like 9s.
Yeah, I think it's a very good bet. And while the 3 pairs the board, the 3 is such a better card than either a 5 or a deuce.
Yes.
Because ace deuce, obviously, 5, I think the 3 is a pretty good card. And I really like your bet because I agree with your logic. Turn, even if he had a weird 2 pair, let's say he had 5-3 of hearts and decided to just raise pre-flop from early position, which I don't expect him to be doing.
Right. But
I expect him to raise that turn, and he didn't. He didn't raise the turn, so I think that caps him at an 8 or 9s or something of that nature. Because if he had jacks, he just played the hand so weird with his sizings, deciding to not raise, not getting protection, all that stuff. So I think it's an incredibly good read. You knew where you were at, and you bet well. So props to you, sir.
Good. Gotta bet that river for value.
I've been complimenting you a little too much. I think I need to get a hand where I just completely own you on this podcast. We've had several. We haven't had one in a while. Yeah, early on we battled in huge pots very frequently.
I may be kind of avoiding you. As of late. No, I'm kidding.
I don't know about that, man. I'm a donkey.
We haven't super run into each other that much yet,
Yeah, all right. So we've got one more hand for you guys. It is against the famous I Hate Bombs that I've been playing a ton of sessions with. We have been battling, let me tell you, huge pots 2-3 times a week, playing 2-4, 1,000 max, like we've discussed before. And in this hand, we are 1,000 deep. He's 1,400 deep, and we are in the big blind with King Queen off. He decides to bump it up to 16, which is our standard sizing. Yes, I know it's pretty big, but I guess we're fish and we like
standard sizing, and you're super deep. You're fine.
So I decide to put it to 60, and I think this is pretty self-explanatory. I have King Queen.
Yeah, heads up. This is a very easy 3-bet hand.
He makes it 180.
Yeah, and you're gonna call.
Yeah, so I mean, I could be behind here, but I mean, he has such a wide range still. I mean, he's in position. He could be doing this with a wide range of hands. 9s plus, hell, even 8s plus. He could have ace. He did ace 4 suited. He did the same thing. Stuff like that. He could have such a wide range.
He has offsuited combinations.
Yeah. Oh, not. Yeah, he definitely has offsuit like Jack Queen sometimes. Ace.
But he's capable of 4-betting a significant.
Yeah, he has a wide range. Is all I need to say. I'm
right.
putting him.
You're not gonna fold King Queen off to this guy. Got it.
So obviously our SPR isn't amazing here. I mean, there's 360 in the pot, and we have 850 behind. So it's not the worst flop in the world, but having no diamonds in our hands, we do not love it. So his standard sizing on these boards, in these 4-bet pots, are that he goes half pot, and he does that almost religiously. I'd say 95% of the time. So I expect him to half pot it, and let's see what he does. Why is this going so slow? I checked over him. He bet 180, like I said, pretty religiously. He was doing that, and I see no sense in raising this.
No,
absolutely no sense.
So.
While I'm open-ended, I could be reduced to 6 outs here, and I.
Would you do it with the King of Diamonds?
That is a good question, and I think the answer to that question is. I don't know. I haven't thought about it.
Yeah, honestly,
I think the answer is no.
Yeah, the answer is no. I think the right answer here is just call.
If he,
Bryce. So Bryce is having some technical issues right now. The poor guy has frozen. But yeah, so like as he was about to say, talking about possessing the King of Diamonds here, I'm gonna agree with what I think he's about to say, in that having the King of Diamonds here does make this a fundamentally different situation. But if you raise there, you're raising with something that is a key blocker, and you also don't have the nut advantage, as in you don't have the Ace of Diamonds, so the Ace of Diamonds still technically exists, and you're in a 4-bet pot, so it's pretty likely that he's showing up here with an ace of some kind. So the Ace of Diamonds is still available. Looks like it's just me now, which is a great thing. Now that we've lost Bryce, but I'm sure we'll get him back. And in the meantime, again, I wanted to give a big shout out to Trevor Savage. Awesome having him on the podcast today. Really cool guest. Cool thing to have a guy who's cashed in so many different main events. I've actually met a gentleman who's cashed. He's close to breaking the record for the most in a row. I think he's on his 4th main event cash in a row. And who knows if they'll count this year because it's online, if they'll count it as opposed to live. It'll be interesting to see. Oh, here's Bryce. Oh, interesting. So Bryce has lost power, actually. That's what that was. So, interesting. Well, that's really unfortunate that we lost Bryce here. But with that being said, hopefully this is still getting picked up. I wanted to, again, like I said, say thank you to Trevor Savage, our wonderful guest. Thanks to Bryce for somehow losing power in the middle of All In. And thank you guys so much. We'll see you guys next week. We're going to have other great guests. We're looking at picking up some more really significant guests in the weeks to come. So keep looking for it, guys. And like we always say, keep sending in hands. Viewer submissions hands keep us alive. So please keep sending them in. And as always, we'll see you next week. Bye, guys.